I'm in the mood, love, yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy, yeah. And girl, I want this, got me all up in my feelings. Over the feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is, y'all know what it is. It's Monday, which means it's time for the Marriage Shop with Mike and Wendy. And here we are. So, how you doing?
He's Mike. I'm Wendy. It's the Marriage Shop. We're back again. It's Monday. It's a little after 7. And we're still not over daylight savings time or whatever it is. We sprung forward and we're still waiting for our minds and bodies to catch up.
Are we? I think we are, actually. I'm ashamed to admit that. But there's something that's just still a little off.
Yeah, a little bit off.
It's
so,
like,
yeah. What?
No.
You say it's like...
No, it's I typically, I try to get up pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. It's just like I have to like throw my legs out of the bed and let them fall. And I just fall out, and then I roll on into the bathroom. Dallas helps to drag me in some days. Mm-hmm. Dallas is our Australian Shepherd, by the way.
That's funny.
So sometimes he just stare at me in order to get me to get up.
Yeah. So let me see who is on.
Okay.
So as you guys come in, make sure you say hello in the chat.
Hey.
So Michelle Moore Wilson, thanks for joining us tonight. Emma Van Loo, welcome to the Marriage
Hey.
Shop. And Lisa McNeil, hey, glad you could be with us, family. So we're glad you guys could join us, from week to week, month to month. And over the last couple of years, we've been doing this almost every Monday.
Almost. I mean, you might as well say, for us, you might as well say like every Monday. I challenge you to find a Monday that we didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one or two in there.
There are a few.
One or two.
So anyway, thanks for joining us. So it's still daylight here in Evans, and hopefully it's daylight wherever you are. At least if you're in the United States. So we recognize if you're not in the United States, it may not be daylight. And we have a couple of friends out there who are in the United States, but not like in the 50 contiguous United States.
You said did you say contiguous here tonight?
Yes.
Whoa,
yes.
you taking this thing to
out there in Hawaii.
Another level.
Yeah.
I think
so. But we haven't seen them in a minute.
Tracy and Rocco and Tracy.
Where are you guys?
Come on now.
Yeah. So come on back. They're
anyway.
Probably in transition. So Monica Wilson Ferguson, it's been a while. Welcome back. We're glad you could join us in the shop.
Charmaine Williams is in the house tonight.
What?
Come on,
man. Where
long time no
see.
Been?
Yes. So welcome.
Yeah.
So you guys, if you haven't been following us over the past couple of weeks, we have quite a few things all dropping at the same time. But of course, if you've been on any of our pages, you can see that the thing that we've been talking about, the thing that we've been focused on is this new book that we published. So the book is out, and if you're an e-reader and you prefer to read it on Kindle, you can pre-order it, and it will drop on Sunday. So this Sunday is the official launch date of our book, When a Story of Marriage.
Yes.
So we want to know if you have it already and you've read it already, go ahead and drop what you think about it in the chat. We're not going to spend all night tonight talking about the book. I mean, although we could. Yeah.
And we appreciate, because folks are they're sending pictures of the book. Mm-hmm. They're sending kind of their initial thoughts of it or whatever. The only thing I ask you is this. Right? Before you leave any thoughts, make sure you read some before you read any thoughts, before you leave any thoughts at all, right? Because your thoughts very well may change. Now, that's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, I think that what you share may change, because some people, they get the book and they're like, hey, great read for couples.
Talking about
awesome.
marriage.
It's a 5.
Yes.
So yeah. So anyway, but we I don't know. It honors us. It humbles us that you even pick it up. But we do think it's worth it though.
Yeah. So good. Thank you for sharing it. So you got yours. Let us know once you get into that this week. And Michelle Moore Wilson, she said, I felt like I was right in the room with you all throughout the book. Wow.
That's big.
Yeah, that is big.
Yeah.
That's cool. Thank you for that. And then, of course, we want you guys to leave reviews on Amazon, because that's the primary marketplace. So when people are looking at it and they're wondering, well, do we just think it's great, or do other people think it's great too? That's what they're going to look at, the reviews. So if you get an opportunity, drop in a review on Amazon. So with that said, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, it's an interesting time, right? For us to be releasing this book. And somebody asked in the chat last week, I forgot who it was.
Michelle Moore Wilson.
Was it Michelle Moore Wilson? Or was it her husband? One of the Wilsons. Yeah, asked about like if we heard of Derek Jackson. I'm like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. Wendy was like, yeah, I think it's that guy. And so we went searching and about kind of what was breaking in the news with regard to him. Derek Jackson. He calls himself the self-love ambassador.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's what it. Yeah, if you go to his website, that's what it says. And so lots of he's been blogging and talking and whatever on relationships for a long time, and has, I think, 7 books, if I'm not mistaken, several books out there.
Yeah.
But he got caught in a little bit of scandal, and so the day that we went on live last week, I think that same day was when he had published a video about that. And then he published another, he and his wife, and then so yeah. So it was a rough time for him at that point. And so, but what he was sharing though, I mean, they were kind of sharing the process, I guess, of trying to get through this in a very public way.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say though, initially, like a lot of people do, he released the video on his own addressing it. And one of the things that struck me was that he was kind of defensive, right? It was like he was lashing out, saying that basically the only reason this was coming out the way that it was coming out is because people were coming after him, right? So it's people that didn't believe in what he was doing, didn't believe in his platform, trying to ruin him or whatever else. I mean, that's really kind of that initial message.
Yes.
Before he got to the video with his wife.
Yeah. And so and Michelle Moore, she said that was me. Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to Yes.
No.
So yeah, and so I won't get into what he said necessarily specifically as much, because I don't know. I had thoughts about it, but tonight the question becomes, okay, how soon is too soon? And I think I was telling you, I got, and you all, if you've been following us for long enough, you'll know that we tend to not spend a lot of time talking about couples in terms of things that break in the news around couples and some of the things that they struggle with very publicly, actually. And there's a reason for that. But I think it bears mentioning that in this particular case, the timing, the approach, I might even say the effectiveness or whatever. It kind of it strikes you very much as like when the Red Table Talk came out, Will and Jada, when they had that conversation,
and the entanglements.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was the entanglements. It kind of left you wondering, like, like was it time to do that? What was the goal, and did they achieve it? Why now, right? And so. Yeah, so this kind of left me feeling in a very similar way. So it kind of brings forward the question, because obviously, I mean, we're sharing a story and it's in depth. It's not a 30-minute interview or a 30-minute video. This is like, this whole book that walks through a huge chunk of our lives.
Yeah.
And so, well, that's sharing as well, right? And so the question becomes, how soon is too soon? or do you share anything at all? What's the whole point? Right.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's interesting. So I was in checkout at Walmart the other day. It might have been yesterday, and Mike forgot something, so he had to go outside. And so as soon as he left, the woman behind me said, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I have one of those too." And I was like, okay. And she said, yeah, I've been married for 31 years. And I said, oh, that's amazing. Congratulations. And then the woman who was checking us out said, yeah, well, in August, we'll have been married for 35 years. And I'm like, man, this is just awesome. Thank y'all for letting me know. And so when Mike came back, the lady proceeded to give us marriage advice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she did. She proceeded to tell us. And I thought the timing was interesting because what she said was, if you keep everybody out of your business, then you'll be married for a long time. And I found myself thinking in that moment, too late.
Yeah.
Keeping everybody out of your business. But that's the advice that a lot of us get, right?
Yeah.
Don't have everybody in your business. Don't share too much of what's going on. Keep what is private and personal, private and personal. And even we've said, be careful about what you share with family and friends about what's happening in your marriage, right? Seek out good, godly guidance if you're going through something, and be selective about what you're sharing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, it comes down to really answering the question of why you're sharing, right? And so I think when we're given the question that you're asking us, right? How soon is too soon? I think it also relates to why.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I put in there, that it said that you're healed by your testimony, which, often it is, hey, when you share about what you've been going through and how the Lord brought you through it, that it will likely help you heal and heal other people.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely true. And what I said last week was I shared with you on my whole thought around it. And there are two scriptures, and I don't know why. Luke 11:33, and it's another one that's exactly the same, about hiding your light under a bushel.
Mm-hmm.
And my point was, he didn't heal me to hide, but the rest of that is, it should say ... As you know, that's how I write. After the work is completed, right? Or after a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's key to understand that we didn't go into or start writing this book right when we were in the midst of some of the things that we share in the book. And so I think that's why I like that we're talking about how soon is too soon.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of the key things I think that you said. First of all, it's not, we're not telling story for the sake of telling story. I mean, there's all kind of things you can write about. You can write fiction, you can make up stories. Why tell our story? I think the important thing is that our story is about how God can move in your relationship and completely transform things. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I think at its core, without that piece, there is no story. There's nothing to tell without that piece. Because if we are sharing a story without that piece, well, I don't know what we're doing, right? So I think the idea of what is happening spiritually is really important. Mm-hmm. But you said something to remind me of this quote, right? It said, your story is the key that can unlock someone else's prison. And so
that's good.
I don't know whose quote that is. I ran across it. I couldn't find, a source, but your story is the key that can unlock someone else's prison. The whole point of that, though, if you think about that visual, you have to be outside of the prison. You have to be like holding the key. And so you can't be like cellmates trying to like pull out the key. Like, you know what? Yeah, come on. I know how to get out of here. Well, how do you know you're stuck in here with me, right? And so there's a certain point, and we've talked about it, and we'll talk about it more in that next book. But how do we even know it was time? that I tell you, and this is no exaggeration, that was completely a spirit thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Holy Spirit thing that said, you know what? Yes, now is the time.
Yeah. To share the story.
To share the story.
Any part of our story.
Yes.
Right. So the first time we really publicly shared parts of our story was recently, like, what was that, 2015, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are people who were aware, but we had not publicly shared
yes
any part of our story in that way. So, we would talk about our marriage, we talk about family, talk about the girls, all those things, but we had not been quite that transparent.
Yeah.
And so that's still fairly recently. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
been within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly. Yeah. Feels like a long time ago.
It feels like a long time ago, but not a long time ago. So I like that Lisa says you have to come to terms with your own history and deal with it first. Other than that, it's never too soon to share your story, as long as you're doing it to be a blessing to someone else. Yeah, I like that. And again, that comes back to why you're doing it. And I think we can unpack that a little bit too. And then Monica says, it feels like it's different for those that are in the public eye. I feel like they are pressured to tell their story because it is out in the open. And you bring up a really good point. And that really relates to what we were talking about with Derek Jackson or John Gray or I think I can't remember the name of that church that pastored at what's the name of that church? It's like, why am I thinking this up in New York somewhere in the north?
Yeah.
Anyway, but all of these stories seemingly are breaking most recently, at least to come to memory in recent times. In the past 2 years, it seems and feels like a lot of scandals are breaking, right? All these stories. And you're right, people that are in the public eye, sometimes the story gets out ahead of them, and then they start apologizing and owning some things to try to get ahead of the story once it's leaked or once it gets out. Real interesting timing in that, right? Because within your marriage, things will only get out if the two of you are complicit in putting them out. For the most part, right? There's not somebody that is following you around. You don't have issues with paparazzi. You don't have issue with fans or people who are against you trying to dig up dirt and find stuff. You're not running for political office. And so there's no private investigator just snooping around trying to figure out what you have going on. And a lot of these people do. And so once something comes out, or once the people that they've been involved with determine that they no longer want to be discreet, then they have something that they have to deal with.
Yeah. And you lose control. So then the reason for coming out, and I love this point about people being in the public eye and the pressure that people, like, you got to come clean, you got to do whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And you're in a situation where there's something to lose no matter which way you go, which then speaks to the motivation for telling that story in the first place and how it's told.
Yeah.
Because what you often find is that the level of ownership tends to be low, the level of blame tends to be high, and the blame becomes about the people who are trying to get you. And it's like, well, yeah, they got you, right? And so there, every now and then, you'll see somebody just really kind of, some radical ownership of what occurred, and really owning, the blame or owning the action. Most often what you get is real strong defense. And so if you think about it, and I guess it sounds like I was going to say I'm not making a comparison, but I'm kind of making a comparison. But there's a reason, right? So if you're not in the public eye, so to speak, if you're not being pressured to put it out there, then in some ways you get to put it out on your own pace. You get to frame it. You get to do some things. But if you're just thrust out there, like, boom, news is breaking, and it's just there, well, then it becomes much more difficult. And I can get how some people, when they react, it's kind of in a panic. It's like, okay, and Jackson had like a book that was being released, like, it's like right now it's being released. So there's a lot there in terms of how you shape it. I think my man like plugged the book. during that first.
Yeah, he did. He did.
But how do you do that? It's very difficult to genuinely do that,
Yeah.
right? To kind of be what you need to be or whatever. And there's this monetary, this product, this whole operation around you.
Yeah.
And so it becomes, I think, trying to now just save what you can, salvage.
Right. And so he, not to speak to him specifically, but you go into crisis management mode and you're trying to protect the brand as much as you're trying to protect yourself. And the key difference between a lot of what we see right now and say what happened 10, 20, 30 years ago is the speed of information.
Yeah.
Right. And so everything is happening and people are living real time right now, instantaneously. Once something happens 1 second and the next second, everybody knows about it. I mean, so whether it's tweeted about, Snapchatted about, on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform, as soon as something happens, the world is there with phones.
And they all have an opinion.
All have an opinion and they have a platform. So even if they don't know you, they've now taken license to speak out about you and what you've done and their opinion of it. So it's real interesting, but I like that Charmaine is kind of bringing us back because we wanted to kind of intro tonight with that, right? How do we get here? How soon is too soon? And what she shared is, I believe that if you feel the need to share, wait until the storm is over. Otherwise, sharing too soon will open the door for outside factors, people to get in the way while God is still working. And I think that's real good because it is about when there are two people involved or two or more people involved, right? There's this whole idea of even if one of you is ready. So let's just talk about the two people in your long-term committed relationship. One of you could be ready, but the other one may not be ready. And we've seen this where it's like, okay, I want to come clean. I'm going to confess. I'm going to put it out there. And that person, prays about it and they do it. And they don't know what their response is going to be. And then they're ready to go and, do a retreat and do a sermon on it and go out and tell the world. And, and the other person is like, whoa. Yeah. Not yet. Is a little bit too soon. And you've talked about it in terms of when an infraction occurs, how one person may want to move on too quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And yeah, thank you. I was just about to say that. It's like a lot of times that rush, because if you really consider it, how is it that one person in the couple is ready to go and share and like try to fix everybody, and the other person is not even close to that? How can those two things coexist? I think a lot of times it is someone is trying to run a lot of times from what happened, right? Let's just go ahead, call it done, put it behind us, and then everything will be okay, right? We're good, right? Well, it's important, I think, to let that storm pass, live some life, pray, right? And really listen to God. I wouldn't even say seek God about, hey, can we share this now? But just be open, right? And just listening to what God is telling you, because it is, things just happen. If you ever been through one of those really difficult, catastrophic type times, right? It feels like this could be it. Then that as you begin to walk out of that, it's not a straight path out. Oftentimes it can be very much variable. It can be up and down. It can be, it feels like you're going in a circle sometimes. You think, what, we're through it. And then boom, man, I'm right back here, this place that feels familiar. And this is absolutely not through it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so having an opportunity to just begin to live a little bit and heal and walk and heal and listen, I think it positions you better to be able to hear when God is saying, okay, you know what, now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, we also want to caution you, as I think you put in the intro, you may not be planning to write your story or even share your story publicly, but it is important that you're listening and paying attention to each other, right? And so even when things may feel like they're good and it may seem like they're good and we're ready to move forward, you really just want to move forward cautiously, right? Because there's anything, music, song, people, places, things, smell, sounds, anything can cause you to just, it will take you right back. And so, and of course we're speaking specific to the things that we've shared, but there are a number of things that happen in a marriage and in relationships that, some may say are unforgivable. And so when you're determining, where you are, what's happening, how soon, how fast, and where you go, again, come back to why, right? Why is it that you would share? What is it that you are trying to accomplish by sharing? And what is it that you hope to bring to others or to yourselves, right? So there's a great degree of I guess in a lot of ways we are serving, and this is ministry for us. And so yes, our primary desire is to instill hope and to help others heal. But in going through this process, we are confronted with facing those things and those truths over and over again. And it forces us to really pay attention to our own healing in that process. So each time we revisit it, each time we share it, each time we talk about it, each time somebody asks about it, whenever it comes up, is an opportunity to kind of revisit it, but it's an opportunity for us to heal even deeper. And so, why do I say that in that way? Well, because I think that sometimes we are too eager to just get past it and heal real fast. And then we want to move right to helping everybody else, if that's just your nature, right? I'm on fire right now. I just think that this is going to be something that's going to help everybody. And I think we need to do this right now.
Yeah.
And you really have to be careful about the right now. And that's not, that's true, not just in this situation, but in many situations. We want to get ahead of what God is doing and what we're doing. Yes. Hey, Gerald Wilson, thanks for joining us.
What's up, man?
What's happening?
Nothing. I was rubbing your leg. That's what was happening. But you're right. I mean, it feels good to escape. It feels good to, say, you know what? I'm glad that is over. Don't have to do that again. Mm-hmm. Completely understandable. And in some ways, not quite realistic when it comes to matters of your relationship and the heart. The road back can sometimes be maybe a little longer. Or maybe you'll, like Wendy said, there'll be certain things that trigger and it comes back and it's like, man, I thought I was further along than perhaps I was. Whatever the case, it is important to just be sensitive to that, right? This is not something that you drag anybody to, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Right? You can't drag your spouse and be like, yeah, hey, you know what? We're good. Even when you are good, right? You don't get the drag and say, it's time, we telling this. No, because that's everything that happens between you, that belongs to the two of you, right? And so it's really important to be thoughtful about that. So yeah, I think, how soon is too soon? For some people, the answer is maybe never. I mean, and I've had people tell me, I will never, never, ever, ever talk about this to anyone.
Taking it to the grave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why would we even tell our story? Why? I think part of it, most of it, in fact, is we understand what it is to be in that place. We understand how isolating it is, because it can be very lonely. It's just, you're looking around, it's like, oh my God, we're in such bad shape. Mm-hmm. How are we gonna make it? We're not gonna make it. This is done, right? Yeah. And so, but that's a lie. And I think sometimes when you hear something that resonates with you, then it gets your attention and it gives you hope, right? And so basically that's what we're doing, right? We're getting people's attention, and hopefully we're sharing some hope with them about what's possible if they lean on God and not each other, or not their parents, or not what they thought going in, but reset, right? And depend on God to lead you out of that what I'll call a wilderness at this moment.
Yeah.
But it's very isolating. I think that's part of what the enemy does, right? You got to like separate the weak ones from the flock first.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're isolated, then you become subject to all these other things, or susceptible to all these other risks. And so I think our job in part is to say, hey, you know what? You're not alone. You're not the only one. And it's possible to come out better than you went in.
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes back to what Lisa said about coming to terms with your own history.
Yeah.
And when you own your story, when you own what has happened, and when you own your life and everything about it, there's a lot of freedom in that, right? And so often we are limited in what we're able to do, limited even in how free we are to love, when we are being held captive by guilt, hurt, and shame. And so I have talked about, if you are held captive, then you're holding the other person captive. And forgiveness, we talk about forgiveness a lot, we talk about sacrifice a lot, but guilt, hurt, and shame are the things that serve to really separate us, right? And it not only isolates us from other people and other people that might be able to help us, but it serves to separate us from God's love and God's healing if we allow it to. They can be extremely damaging if we allow those things to come between what we know to be true. So what you're feeling, and I've said this too, feelings are real, but feelings are not the truth sometimes, right? And so it can feel like there's no way back. It can feel like it can never be as good as it was. It can feel like I can never trust you ever again. It can feel like all of those things. But when you know what the truth is underlying all those things, then it puts you in a different place, right? And it's not just your truth or his truth or her truth. It is the truth, and it's God's truth, right? So a lot of what we put in that book was, yes, now you know so much more about Mike and Wendy than you probably thought you would learn. Mike and Wendy, and some of our friends and family, but willing or reluctant, so much more about those things. But our hope is that what you really get from it is how important it is to have God as the head of your marriage.
Very well said, indeed.
It's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a lot, but it's all true. And I, there's nothing more to add to that. That needs no extra flavor. Yeah, that's good. So I think that if you've ever felt like you've kind of gone through this storm and you're feeling like you want to, that's my hand behind you. Like,
no, I was looking at something there.
Okay, but if you feel like you feel like, okay, you know what? Maybe this can help somebody, right? I think the absolute first thing that you must do, two things: speak to each other and pray about it.
Yes.
And literally just wait to see what response you get. Not okay, Lord, when's the first time we're gonna share this? But like, is it your will that this is what we do? And consider the why. What is it? Right? What are we doing here? So, but I think that's really, really important. And it's not about pressure either to, hey, we got to do this. Come on. When are you going to get it together? No. And by the way, if you thought, not us, never, I would just ask that you, and this is dangerous, but be open to what God might want you to do. And once you get that, don't avoid the response that you get, like whatever your instructions are, don't avoid it, right? Don't start like trying to out talk God, like I can't hear you, Lord. Music too loud, right? Because I would suspect, just as there is someone who maybe is pressing a little hard, a little prematurely, there's someone also who's probably holding back, like, you know what? Never. I don't care what what still small voice I hear. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I think when he said it's been 5 years, I guess, roughly. But I can say without a shadow of a doubt that we have been well protected. Ooh, oh. Anyway,
I think you got it.
Okay. I can say that we have been protected, like well protected by. Okay, is it gone?
I got it.
Okay, thank you. See, that's love right there. That, people, that's love.
Mm-hmm.
As I was saying. Yeah, I just think God he's led us well in terms of when to share, how to share. Yeah, and our relationship has been guarded. Our hearts have been guarded, and we are closer right now than we've ever been. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Recognizing that when you share something as deeply personal as what we've shared in the book, that now the world potentially knows, right? And so there's a certain level of vulnerability that comes with that. There are people who are looking for opportunity. And so that is why, this is not a one and done. It's not like, hey, we're good. We prayed about it. And so, we will never be vulnerable again. I think what is important is having an awareness that your marriage can be fireproofed. It can be fortified, and it can be saved, but it may always be vulnerable. And it's because we're human. Right. And so always keep in mind that, it's only as strong as the two of you are, and as strong as you are committed to be, as long as God is in it. Right. So when God is in it, yes, there, let no man put asunder what God has brought together. That is absolutely true. But down here where we're being human, which we are, recognize that there are people out there who may not be fans of whatever it is that you have going on, and they are waiting for an opportunity to strike. Just saying.
Yeah, which is why that timing is so important, because if it's kind of like that tree we have out. We got a little tree this weekend. It's sitting in a bucket out in a spot where it is probably to be planted.
Yeah.
Well, that tree, and we had a pretty severe storm yesterday. I was a little concerned, but that tree is not ready to endure like the strongest of storms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even connected, all right? And so, but over time, that thing is going to grow, and the roots will go deeper and deeper, and it doesn't matter what comes through. Like, there's some trees in our yard right now. If they go down, pretty much everything is getting destroyed, right? And that's kind of what you want your marriage to be. I think, if before you expose it to certain things, you got to be sure that you're well-rooted, that you're planted, right? And that you're being watered.
Yeah.
Right?
And nurtured. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's by the Holy Spirit, right? That's but that you're taking care of each other, because as you're able to do that, then you still are human and still subject to mistakes and things like that. But there are certain things when people always talk about being delivered from certain things, and I used to be like, what are you talking about, right? Yeah. But there are certain things that that thing is not happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so why? Because not only is a mindset change, it's a spirit change, but it's a change in even how you live your life. Right? And so there's a certain level maybe of accountability that you didn't have. There's a certain level of support maybe that you didn't have. A certain level of maturity, like spiritual maturity and love and understanding maybe of something that you didn't understand before, that you will now have, that will help to guard you as long as because it becomes about what your practices are. What do you do? in order to stay connected, to stay rooted. But if you're able to do that, then you can endure a lot.
Yeah. So I like what Jeff said. He says the storm is passing over. I love that song. And the question is, the damage on the house, repairable, and with God it is, right? And so with everything that may come against you individually, like we shared, or your marriage, the both of you, foundationally, you need to be rooted in something that is unchanging, right, and unmovable. And that's not either one of us,
right?
And so I think that you have to always have some level of humility and acknowledgement of really just how weak we are. I mean, I think above all else, I think we become a bit flawed when we think that we are that we cannot be vulnerable. And when you own that, when you know, and you recognize that it takes something greater than you, yourselves, I think that is when you are treading in a place that really kind of fosters growth, right? Growth together and growth closer to closer to God, and that's really the whole point, right? The whole point of marriage is because we were not meant to be on this planet by ourselves. We were not meant to get through everything that we will face in our lives alone, right? We were granted and privileged and gifted a partner so that we would be able to get through everything that would come against us, everything that would come at us, and try to throw us off from fulfilling our purpose. And so I think that when you recognize really with the gift that God has given you, that gift of marriage and what it is that you're purposed to do, then it really should kind of excite you to be able to, to get it right, to protect it, and to help it grow.
Yeah. No question. I was thinking about this, and I think this is the last point I'll make, right? Okay. This idea, because some people, you get through some trouble, you're like, we're good. I'm good. Let's go, right? And no looking back. Well, I think that, given what you were saying in terms of, having a solid foundation in God and all that, it requires this constant maintenance, this constant attention. It's kind of like locking your doors at night, right? And it's very interesting that the word says that, when the Lord returns, it'll be like a thief in the night. It'll be like, you weren't expecting it, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't ever know what's going to come. Matter of fact, I would suggest to you, and I don't want to scare anybody, but who knows who's like, come and check your doors in the middle of the night. You lock your doors, most of you, every night, no matter what happens, you lock your doors and you kind of have a routine in order to ensure that you are protected, right? Even if you move into what you consider to be a great neighborhood, gated community, all that stuff, you lock your doors every night. You close the garage door, hopefully, every night. Why? Because that's how you protect your home and ensure that consistency is what is going to protect you. It's the consistency, right? Because you can like jump around and guess. One day you're going to get it wrong. Somebody's going to break in your house, right? It's about the consistency. And so I think the things that we do in order to stay connected, that is prayer, that is reading the word, that is connecting ourselves with other people who are trying to do the same things. It's about that consistency. That's one of the key things I believe that keeps you in a space that protects you and protects your marriage.
Yeah. And it's important that you do your part. That none of us is just autopilot and we're just kind of getting up every day and going through the motions. It requires that you're active. That you are doing something that deepens and strengthens your marriage. And, like you said, I mean, praying with and for the person that you're married to is just the beginning, right? Praying protection over your marriage, praying for, everything that would any weapon that would try to be formed against you, that it never reach you. Those are all things that you can do. So in terms of how soon is too soon, to share your story if you are feeling compelled to do so. The bottom line is you can only move as fast as the slowest person, right? If one of you is not ready, then you're not ready. That's the answer.
That's a recurring theme, actually, in the Marriage Shop. Right? It's all about mathematics, people. Two become one. If one ain't ready, you ain't ready. I'm sorry, my grammar is, but you get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's really all we wanted to talk about tonight. And we welcome whatever you guys want to share. Any questions that you have. We appreciate all of you. Those of you, we appreciate all of you. Period. And we really appreciate those of you who have gotten a copy of our book and really are able to share and have a closer look at our story. We believe that it's just going to bring all of us closer together. And so if there's anything that we can share with you publicly or personally, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You know how to get us. You can direct message us. You can email us. Any way that you want to contact us, we're available. And if and I'm not saying at 2 a.m. that we're going to be answering the phone, but what I am saying is when we get it, if we get it from you, we're going to get back to you because you are important to us. So we are just continually hoping that you all continue on your positive marriage journeys and that you are able to heal from anything that comes against you and emerge stronger than you ever imagined. So thank you for joining us tonight in the Marriage Shop once again. I think Mike is going to drop that link in the chat or in the comments for you. Thanks, Ron Harvey, for telling people to grab the book, and Camilla Freeman, our hype woman.
Oh my goodness!
How can we miss an opportunity to just thank you? She has been putting it out there and yelling it for everybody to hear. So we just appreciate you so much.
Yeah. She says she's loving the intro. Look at that. From the first page. It's a page turner. Seriously. It's the link's in the chat. Can we pray for y'all real quick? Yeah. I think I heard somebody say yes. So Heavenly Father, we just come tonight just thanking you. You're just so good to us, and we just can't thank you enough. Thank you for another day. We just thank you for everyone here watching, listening, and just ask you be with them. Guide them in what it is they're to do. If they're hurting, heal them. If they're thriving, grow them. And we just be sure to give you all the honor, the glory, the praise for everything that you've done, that you're doing. We love you. And we trust you with everything. We pray these and other blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So we're not going to be here next Monday. But
we're not going to be here next Monday?
No, we're not going to be here next Monday because we're going to be here next Sunday. So on Sunday, several times throughout the day, it's the official launch of the book. You'll be able to see us live. So make sure you set your click your settings so that you are notified whenever we go live. So we'll be live a few times talking about the book. It's the official launch day for the book, and we look forward to sharing with you guys and seeing you there. And make sure you share with anybody you think might benefit.
We might have another special treat for you all that day. We're hoping we will.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have to check in and see.
Yes. All right.
So we'll see you on Sunday, April the 4th.
Good night, y'all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's your boy, JC. I'm in the mood. Love, yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy, yeah. And girl, I want it. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, yeah. Oh, promise I'ma be around. I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got a new coupe. Yeah, I know I got a roof, but I always keep it down with you. Yeah, and I know they see it. Girl, you're my queen. And beauty speaks for itself, loud and clear. Yeah. So throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I'll love you forever. And that's a long time, babe. But I got time for you, baby. I'm in the mood. Ooh, for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you, yeah. For a lifetime, baby. Ooh, yeah. For a lifetime, oh, for a lifetime, yeah, yeah.